Welcome back to the cEDH podcast. I'm Blake.
And I'm Chase, and today we're going to be looking at the top 10 decks in our current meta.
Yeah.
All right,
So go ahead.
No, you going ahead.
I was gonna say, like 6 months ago, we basically covered the top 10 decks. That was like one of our first videos when we actually started the channel. So we felt like it was kind of fitting after it's been about half a year that we should kind of look back and see how the meta's shifted, see if anything's changed, and then kind of reevaluate some things.
Yeah, and if you haven't seen those videos, go back and look at them and see if any of our predictions, because we talked about like some predictions we had at the end of the year. See how that stuff is kind of shaping up and seeing if, back then we knew what we were talking about, or just like how it is now. Some people say we don't know what we're talking about whatsoever, but screw it. But today we're going to be looking at the top 10 decks in the current cEDH meta. Now we're going off of EDH top 16, and just to kind of fill everyone in on what we're looking at for this, we're sorting this by top cuts within the past 6 months. So from the beginning of the year till now, just like Blake was saying, we're at the halfway point of this year. So let's look at just what's happened so far this year. For minimum entries, we actually have it set to all commanders, and then tournament size at 60 plus players. Instead of doing all, because sometimes when we get into this and we start looking at things and start shifting those categories around, there's a bunch of weird shit that pops up that just does not make any sense, and so it's really hard to go off of that.
Yeah. Well, that's kind of one of the things you run into, or because like some people will say like, oh, it should be conversion rate, but like if one person is basically like the person piloting a deck and they're taking it to a lot of tournaments and they do well with it, the deck's going to have a really good conversion rate. But I feel like that's not as much of a, it's not as much the deck is good as it is the player is really good or really good with the deck. You know what I mean? So like that speaks more to the player than the deck, in my opinion, at that point.
Right. So you ready to get into this?
Hell yeah.
All right, so let's start at number 10. So this is one that I think is really interesting, and this was kind of a prediction that we had. But for our number 10 spot, we have Glarb, Calamity's Augur, with a conversion rate of 14.78 and 17 top cuts within the past 6 months. So I guess just because, real quick, if you don't know what Glarb does, it is a Sultai commander for one of each color pip. So we have black, green, and blue. It's a frog wizard noble that is a 2/4 with death touch. And you may look at the top card of your library anytime. You may play lands and cast spells with mana value 4 or greater from the top of your library. And you can tap him and surveil 2. Now, whenever I was talking about a prediction right before reading all of that, like this is one of the commanders that a lot of people at that time were kind of speculating like, oh, this is going to be a really good commander. Like it had already started seeing some play back in January. Like, it was one of the most sought after commanders following Bloomburrow. Like people were hyped on it, and it's continued to prove its worth over time, and I think that obviously we're like trying to do more of like a Dimir splash green, it feels like at times against this deck. You're running the best 2 card win condition that you can in this. Looks like they're still playing some like Doomsday Pile type stuff. Now I think where it kind of stretches, like I'm kind of even looking at a list that placed recently with Zachary Doyle, and this is actually from the Play to Win Cloud City event. It looks like he's playing like Jace Wilder Mysteries in his list, and it's fitting because as a 4-drop, you could play it off the top, and then if someone's not expecting like the Tainted Pact or the Demonic Consultation or whatever, and you can win that way. It's not just a Thassa's way of winning. Still looks like it's playing like things like Doomsday. You play, you tutor out everything you need, those 5 cards, you draw for your turn, you crack the pile, cast Thassas. Most likely, even if you don't put like Tainted Pact, or I don't know why you wouldn't, but like even if you don't have those, you probably have enough devotion to blue to ensure that you're actually getting the win that way. I mean, all in all, I mean, it's just a really solid, like, Sultai good stuff list outside of those kind of like really niche things that fit within the deck. And it continues to put up numbers.
Yeah. No, I mean, I think that what we've seen too, because like we've got people in our meta that play Glorb, and like I think the deck's pretty good. And then also just tournament play. Like we've played in a tournament that was called like Glorb's Gauntlet,
Yeah.
which was fun. So like that was cool. And I think the deck that won that tournament was Glorb.
Oh yeah. No, it was crazy because what we had talked about this, I think, when we did the recap for that event, was that the final pod was 3 Kinnons and a Glarb, and the Glarb player pulled it off.
Yeah.
So that was pretty cool.
Yeah. No, so I mean I think Glarb's a solid deck, and I definitely think that it makes sense that he's up where he's at. I think that I mean I'm not gonna lie, man. I just think that that's where people kind of want to be at. Like you have access to the best, like with
Mhm.
you know the cheapest, most efficient win condition in the game, and then you splash in some green for like a little bit of added creature tutors to go get one of your pieces. You're still running like really 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 good cards. Then also like you're running what would be like good mana acceleration. I mean, like green is going to give you access to like great mana acceleration. So I just feel like Sultai feels good. Like you get to run like you get to run good cards, and then on top of that, you have like all the mana in the world, like as far as acceleration and stuff like that goes. So I just think that I think Glarb's solid. I mean, yeah,
That we've seen a lot of different unique stuff from this list, so I'm glad to see that it's in our top 10. And I would almost say that maybe by the end of the year it goes up a couple spots. I don't know if it goes past that though.
mm,
On that, you got anything else on Glarb here?
no,
All right, cool. So I'm going to move on to our number 9. So this is one that has actually like continued to surprise us, I feel like, every single time it's come up on the channel.
yeah,
But that is, I just pulled away from it. So let me go back to it because I was wanting to double check and make sure myself on things. We have Malcolm Kenai Navigator and Vile Smasher the Fierce.
I don't understand it. I know what the combo is. I know, like I get it, but it blows my mind that there are people that are choosing this over like some of the other decks. So it's just I don't know. I think that I mean I definitely know that the deck's good, so I'm not like hating on it. And it's Grixis, which is that's also like a
Yeah.
huge plus.
Yeah.
But it just blows my mind. I mean,
I
there's
think
some
that's the main
loyal,
thing, though. It's Grixis.
yeah.
Like, it's good.
There's loyal Malcolm fans out there too, though. So I mean, I guess I can see
Yeah.
it. I'm not saying the deck sucks because clearly it does not, but it's very surprising
Yeah.
that like it feels like this deck continues to like you said just shock us all the time. Like we did a deck or we did the video one time where we were talking about like high conversion rates and ended up being like one of the highest conversion rates, and like it continues to pop up. We've done videos where we covered it like shorts and other stuff and like longer form videos. It's crazy. Like the
Yeah.
deck just continues to hang in there, and it blows my mind.
Yeah. Well, speaking of conversion rates and like things about this deck, something we just kind of forgot about just then. Let's kind of go over what these cards are,
Yeah.
and then I'll go through the conversion rates as well. So first we have Malcolm Kenai Navigator, which is a 3-drop 2/2, a Siren Pirate with flying, and whenever one or more pirates you control deal damage to your opponents, you create a treasure token for each opponent dealt damage. And obviously has partner, and we partner that with Vile Smasher, which is a 3-drop within Rakdos colors. It's a 2/3, and whenever you cast your first spell each turn, choose an opponent at random. Vile Smasher the Fierce deals damage equal to that spell's mana value to that player or a planeswalker that player controls.
Mhm.
Again, partner. So I think there's a couple things with this. One, it's like almost the opposite of Rogsai in a way, if we look at it from just like the color standpoint.
Yeah.
Where in Rogsai, you are solely focused on Rograk and Silas is just there for the colors. And in this build, you are almost solely focused on Malcolm,
Yeah.
and Vile Smasher is there for the colors. So I think that that's an interesting thing with that. But I mean, for those of you that might not, let me not dive into too much because this is worth noting. The conversion rate on this within the past 6 months has been a 20.43% with 19 cuts,
Yeah.
which is pretty good.
Yeah.
And so but as I was about to say, like the main things on this is like the Glenthorn Buccaneer combos, where you have Glenthorn and Malcolm, and they're essentially just like a 2-card combo with one another. And then obviously you have Thoracle and Breach Lines, the two most efficient ways of getting the win.
Well, see, even the thing that's one of the things, like I said, that does surprise me, because like the Glenthorn Buccaneer line. So like, again, for people that don't know what Glenthorn Buccaneer does, but it's 1 red, has haste, and then it has an ability that says when you discard a card, Glenthorn Buccaneer deals 1 damage to each opponent, and then you can pay 1 in a red, discard a card, draw a card, activate this ability only if Glenthorn Buccaneer is attacking. So essentially, what you do is like it comes down, you swing, and then you activate that ability to discard a card and draw a card. When it discards a card, it's going to deal a damage to everybody. Malcolm will see that, and then it'll make 3 treasures. And then you can use 2 of those treasures to then activate the ability again, continuing the loop. But the problem with this is like it has to come down like super early, because if you start getting people with like really wonky life totals and things like that, you may not be able to finish the line. Like, let's say somebody went for like a very early ad nause, and then this person like got hit a couple times. If there's a significant difference between life totals there, you may not be able to finish out the combo, because if at any point 2 of the players are dead, you're only generating 1 treasure off of the combo at that point, and you need 2 mana to continue to activate the Glenthorn's ability.
Right.
So it's tricky, but I mean, it makes sense, and like the it's still a good line. And honestly, it's, when you think about what the line is, I mean, it's a 2 creature combo. Yeah. So there's not a lot of counter spells that are going to stop it. And on top of that, people can say, "Oh, Stifle." They're not running Stifle.
Yeah.
So
well,
like,
and I guess to kind of back that stuff up, though, like even though that is like the 2-card combo, I'm sure that you're also running things in there like like a Mayhem Devil or Reckless Fireweaver and things like that you can run in these type of lists. Like obviously we see those cards more in like Ob Nixilis, but like Reckless Fireweaver's out, all those treasures start coming in. He's gonna shoot the Fireweaver himself is gonna shoot the table as well to add to that damage. You just start sacking all your treasures, and then the Mayhem Devil triggers. You sack everything. So like I'm sure that there are backup ways of kind of getting there to make sure that that's not happening in those kind of situations.
Well, and on the bright side, like you are going to get to filter through your deck doing this combo and like net some mana. So like worst case scenario, you can filter through a lot of your deck with the combo, and you end up killing. Let's say you kill 2 players and there's 1 player still standing. Then you can just potentially do the Thassa consult lines and like stuff like that. But yeah, that's just something to note, that even though it like kind of goes infinite, you have to try to pull it off early while everybody's life totals are like pretty similar. Because I have seen people literally get stopped for that reason, which it wasn't on the Vial and Malcolm Vial. It was on like Malcolm Tana. So just like playing green rather than black, but still just very. It's a good combo. Like I said, I don't think it's bad by any means.
Yeah. All right. So I have nothing else to say on that one, so I'm going to move on if you were okay with that one. At number 8, we have, and I'm kind of glad to see this one, we have Tivit, Seller of Secrets.
Yep.
So, let's kind of go into some of these stats first and what the card itself does. So as far as conversion rate for our 8th place commander, it's a 17.42%, but it has 23 top cuts. So that's pretty cool. Like we're seeing some of those numbers from Tivit, but let's look at what Tivit itself does, just in case some of our viewers might not be aware. So we are in Esper colors. So for 3 colorless, a white, a blue, and a black, we have a Sphinx Rogue 6/6 with flying and ward 3, and has Council's Dilemma that says whenever Tivit enters the battlefield or deals combat damage to a player, starting with you, each player votes for evidence or bribery. For each evidence vote, investigate. For each bribery vote, create a treasure token. While voting, you may vote an additional time. So we're either making treasures or clues, but that's not the only thing that this thing is doing.
Yeah.
Right? So you are our resident Esper guy. take it away.
Yeah. Are you sorry? Do you just want me to go over like the combos and stuff?
Yeah,
With
just
Pivot? Yeah. I mean, at the end of the day, you're just playing good. Like you're just playing good. Like Esper good pile, which is great, obviously. But then, like the nice thing about Tivit is that you get access to again like advantage in the zone. But then on top of that, I feel like one of the things that makes Tivit so good is the fact that he does cost so much mana because it truly makes people play the deck in a way that it needs to be played. Like Esper Control is made to be control for a reason. Like you're not trying to turbo out a Tivit. You're not trying to go turbo. You're not trying to win first. And I think that like a lot of players can get way too fixated on that mindset of just like jam it. Tivit kind of forces you to slow down a little bit, play the control game, and then find your windows to win, like using those silence effects and using other stuff. But then also Tivit himself has a combo with Time Sieve where you can start sacking artifacts and then take extra turns. And with Tivit, you can basically just continue to like take extra turns and just beat face and basically take everybody out of the game that way. Or if you can continue to take turns, you're going to continue to draw cards, and eventually you'll get to your Thassa Consult and a silence effect, something like that.
right.
So I mean, it's a good deck. It's a solid deck. Now, the one thing that I will say that I don't like about Tivit is that if you do end up in a 3-person pod, you're pretty much playing a commanderless game. Like it just doesn't work the same. So it can make it a little more difficult. But I still think it's a solid deck.
All right, moving on. So in 7th place, we have Magda Brazen Outlaw with a 13.18 or 13, yeah, 13 point, I thought I fucked that up, but I didn't. 13.18% conversion rate and 24 top cuts. Now, again, we're doing this for maybe if people aren't really sure what Magda does, because, and maybe this is a refresher for me because we have yet to have Magda on the channel, and as we've stated before, neither one of us know what the fuck Magda does at times. But for 2-drop, colorless and a red, so we have a mono red commander that's a 2/1, and it's a dwarf berserker where other dwarfs you control get +1/+0. Whenever a dwarf you control becomes tapped, create a treasure token. Sacrifice 5 treasures, search your library for an artifact or dragon card, put that card onto the battlefield, then shuffle your library.
Yeah. I do think Magda's good. I feel like you just can't argue it. Like she's really, really good.
She's really good.
She's been super consistent. It's just the fact of like, dude, it's like I've kind of told you, it's, you know, it's one of the reasons why I play Zer, and like you were on cEDH, like it's nice to be able to go and just get whatever the heck you want out of your deck. But the problem that we run into with those commanders that we're talking about is like they don't make mana for us. Like cEDH's not making you mana, and
Right.
like Zer's not making me mana. Zer doesn't do shit the turn he comes down. Magda can immediately come down, and like if you have some dwarfs or other stuff on, you're already making some artifacts, and then if you just, it's basically count to 5 and win. I think honestly, like every tournament that I've been at, Magda's biggest problem is Magda, because it's just 2 Magda players killing each other.
Like, or everyone just like looking at the table trying to police it and go, hey, we need to make sure these dwarves don't get out of hand.
Dude. And what's crazy, the thing that gets me is like Magda a lot of times will get multiple like tutors throughout a game. Like they'll literally get to enough treasures to where they could like put wins on the stack.
Yeah.
But people respond to that and will like kill the Magda. So then a lot of times they're just having to use their treasures to recast the Magdas. But I mean, I've literally been in games where like there were 2 Magda players, and I think I've told this on the channel before. There were 2 Magda players, and between the 2 of them, the Magda got cast 11 times that game.
Jesus Christ.
Yes,
that's too many.
Magda pilots are loyal, bro. Yeah. They are very loyal, and I think that that's one of the reasons why Magda just does so good, because people who like Magda are dedicated to saying Magda is gonna work.
Magda's something. Yeah. Like she works, and like I think what is, I think the interesting part about her, you brought up like her and cEDH, and I'm gonna throw Kennen kind of in that same boat. Even though Kennen is a little bit more strict at times with the deck construction, like there's a lot of different ways you can build Magda and cEDH both. And that's the part that always throws me off, and I think is a reason why that Magda lists do so well, is because like you see the commander and you know what dwarves are going to come out of it, but you don't know what what the fuck the rest of the deck is going to do.
Yeah.
You could be playing against stacks. You could be playing against someone that's going to turbo more shit out. Like, you don't really know what to expect.
Yeah.
cEDH pilots, at least you kind of have an idea. If you see certain pieces, you know what they're going to be going for.
Yeah.
But Magda has just been one of those decks that I look at it and I go, I don't know what the fuck they're about to do, but I'm going to play this as though they're playing it this way, even though they're not, and hope for the best.
Well, I feel like I'm not even like I think that Magda a lot of times too. It's one of the stacks decks that can actually take advantage of stacks. Like,
oh yeah,
it does to in my opinion, it does the best job of that. And I feel like again with a lot of the pilots, they understand how to use the pieces properly. Whereas like sometimes other stacks decks, they run into that problem where they want to be staxing out the table because they just know like, oh, they get like tunnel vision, like this is what I have to do. But then they almost hand a game to something like a Magda. You know what I mean? Like they stacks everybody else out, so then there's nobody else there that can interact with the table. And then you just had this Magda that just goes like completely uncontested. So like Magda does a fantastic job of breaking parity on a lot of stacks pieces.
yeah.
And when you can go and literally get whatever you want out of your deck at any point, as long as you count to 5, I think that's pretty good.
Yep. I mean, seems good to me.
Yeah.
And no complaints there other than just sitting at the other end of it and not sure how to handle it sometimes.
Fair
so,
enough.
all right. So, on from Magda at number 7, we are in our number 6 spot. So, at number 6, and I think you'll be happy to hear about this one, even though it's still in the top 10, we have Rograk, Son of Rogal, and Silas Wren, Seeker Adept, with a conversion rate of 21.95 and 36 top cuts. So, again, just to read them off and make sure everyone knows what we're talking about with this. Rograk is a 0-drop commander. It's still red with First Strike, Menace, and Trample, and it's a 0/1. And then Silas doesn't really matter.
Yeah.
It's blue and black.
Yeah, I think it's like what if you deal some damage or something, you get to cast artifacts from your graveyard or something like that.
Just know that if you play Silas, or if you sit down at a table and you're against a wrong side pilot and they cast Silas, they are in a rough spot.
They are losing.
That is the key sign. They're just like, we gotta fucking do something.
I think I told you that one time where I said something about like if I was playing like a Rog list, I was like, even if I just like had nothing better to do but cast Silas, I would just probably not.
Just not. Go with it. I think that if you are familiar with the format, you know what this deck does. You know that it is going to be the try to have the most efficient win lines with Thoracle and Underworld Breach stuff, and it is trying to get there as quickly as possible through like will effects and self-mill type things. Not just the brain freeze, but even doing like grinding station type things. Like I mean, it's self-explanatory. It's not an easy deck to pilot. I even struggle with it at times, but it can be a fun deck.
I fucking hate this deck. We've talked about it on the channel, and I hate to be the guy I fucking hate Rogsai. It just the problem with it, and it's not like good Rogsai pilots are like they're good. Obviously, like they're great pilots. So I'm not like shitting on them. But I think that the problem that I have with Rogsai is that everybody fucking sees it and they go, sorry that I'm like super harsh. Like I'm cussing really hard here because I fucking hate this deck. I hate this deck. But everybody like sees it and they go, oh, I'm going to play this. And then they pick it up and then it just becomes fucking Wheel of Fortune deck. And then they just, every damn game, they wheel somebody else into a win. And they're like, that's literally what they do. They turbo Wheel of Fortune. And then they fucking jam and then they go and then they're like, oh, it didn't get there. And then the other person's like, oh, fucking throw out the rest of their fast rocks and they're like, false. Oh. And then it pisses me off to no end. I hate this deck. Now, obviously, I get it. I understand like the desire to want to play this deck because it's Grixis, it's go fast, it's free commander in the zone that like turns on all your free interaction. I totally understand. Fuck this deck.
Yeah. It's just depending on the type of variant you're going with it. And I feel like most people, if you're running this, it's the pretty consistent. Like everyone's running the same like 98 cards, no variation whatsoever, with the exception of like maybe 1 or 2 cards. But like This deck is just trying to go as fast as it can, and sometimes it can get away with it. But and I know that you said right now it's like a aggro, like, how'd you compare it, like aggro summer? What'd you say?
Oh, Turbo Summer.
Turbo summer. I know, yeah, whatever. Like that shows how much I'm paying attention right now.
Okay.
But but like this is the standard of what the turbo deck is supposed to be like. And but the thing is, if it doesn't do the turbo thing, it just kind of sits there.
Mm-hmm.
That's why I think that a lot of ROG side pilots have started kind of opting to include things like the One Ring and things like that. You weren't seeing that for a little bit, but now, you know, people, not all the other decks, are trying to find ways of speeding up and trying to get the faster wins. This deck is trying to figure out, how do I survive past turn 4 or 5? And sometimes it just doesn't. If it doesn't do the thing within the first couple turns, then sorry about it.
Yeah, this deck was the fucking boogeyman there for a bit. Too.
Yeah, no. If this deck, if someone is fortunate enough and they're sitting seat 1 and they're ROG Sai and they get to just pop off right then and there, yeah. What else can you fucking do about it? And if that's the case, it's up to the rest of the table to know, like, hey, we need to keep interaction, even if it just fucks us, because we got to survive past turn 2 or 3.
Yeah.
And yeah, like, it's still a boogeyman in the format. I believe that it is because of what it is able to do. But I think that we are just seeing it kind of fall off right now.
Yeah.
And that might be because of our number 5.
Yeah.
So let's go on ahead and talk about our number 5.
Oh yeah.
So at number 5, we have Rograk, Son of Rogar, and Thrasios, Triton Hero. So this deck has a conversion rate of 18.81, which is lower than the ROG side deck, but has 38 top cuts within the past 6 months. Now, we already went over what Rograk did. Let's go over what Thrasios does, just in case, people might not be used to cEDH, or, might not be fully aware of what this deck does. Sometimes we aren't even fully aware of what this deck does, but I understand Thrasios. So for 2 mana, a green and a blue, we have a 1/3 Merfolk Wizard that has an activated ability of pay 4 into it, scry 1, then reveal the top card of your library. If it's a land card, put it onto the battlefield tapped. Otherwise, draw a card, and then this is the best partner in cEDH. The shameless plug of my opinion right there. So on face value, it looks like we're just like I think when people see those two at first, they're like, oh, they're just gonna play like a Timur good stuff. That's not what this deck is at all. It plays a bunch of jank shit throughout it, but it somehow kind of gets there. This is first and foremost like the standard for like land decks in the format right now, where you are just trying to produce as much mana as you can and dump it into Thrasios, so that way you are continuing to dig and dig and dig and dig until you finally can present some kind of loop. And sometimes I still don't even know what the loops fully are. Now I know what the main one is, as far as like using like Eternal Witness and Displacer Kitten, and you're running things like Lightning Bolt and Gut Shot and that kind of stuff. And then there's sometimes breach lines, but not, I don't feel like all ROG Thras players are even on breach lines. At least not the breach lines of like just trying to mill out the table and then go from there.
Well, we've covered some events, and it looks like that people have gotten even more narrow with like some of the win lines that they're running, where like literally the only win line that I saw was like you basically go infinite mana Thrasios activations, and then like the win con was just Fairy Mastermind. And
like with the Fairy Mastermind and like endurance type loop. And,
yeah, basically that was it. That was the only win condition that they had in the deck.
Yeah.
Because we looked for the Lightning Bolt, the Gut Shot, we looked for everything else. That was the only thing that they were doing. So they were literally like full send Fairy Mastermind. They had obviously all the infinite mana outlets and stuff. That was the only like win condition that we found in the deck.
Right.
That and like I think Finale.
Right. And so like it's, I mean, obviously it's at our number like 5 spot. It's proven, it's just come out of nowhere, and it's done really, really well over these past few months. I just feel like that's kind of the deck where it's just like the community on it at times is like, okay, which direction are we going with?
Yeah.
On this. And
I personally think this deck's pretty cool. I mean, like I said, I'm not gonna hate on it too much. I like the fact that like both commanders actually get used, which is very interesting.
No, like compared to like the Rog side deck, like where Silas is, and even when we talked about Malcolm Vile Smasher. So like for the most part, our 2 Grixis ones we've talked about, there's one commander that's really, really good, and then the other one's just kind of there.
What was our term? Dog shit.
Yeah, dog shit.
Yeah,
dog shit commanders.
Yeah.
But that's neither one of the commanders in this pairing are dog shit.
No,
they're both really good. Like, you know,
probably the second and third best command or like partners in the whole game.
Yeah. Well.
Oh yeah, you said
first and third.
No, you
first
said yes.
Third.
You said yes. Can't take it back.
I'm angry now. I'm ready to move on. but no, like I honestly I think that this is a deck that's, I don't think we are done like seeing where this deck is going to go.
No,
I think the ceiling on this one is still really high.
Oh yeah,
and I would just like to see more consistent. Like this is a definitive win. Is definitely a cool deck. I wouldn't mind trying it out and playing it and see how I do with it. But I would want to tailor it to where it's like, okay, like I'm just going to either Walking Ballista or do something like that to be like, this is a for sure win. I'm not going through all these extra steps. GG's.
Yeah, no, I get it.
I don't have anything else to say on the Rog Thras deck, though. I think we'll see it shift up a couple more spots, honestly, by the end of the year. But I think we pretty much covered that. Let's move on. Let's move on to our number 4, which is yet again well, hold up. No, I don't want to say that because last time we had 2 5-color decks in the top 10. One of them got edged out. This one has stayed about the same. So with 5-color combination, we have cEDH Weatherlight Captain with a conversion rate of 19.51 and 40 top cuts. All right, cEDH. I mean, I don't know. What should I say about cEDH? Let's actually talk about what cEDH does. Let's talk about the card real quick.
This is you, man. I did the Esper part. This is you.
Okay, so we have a 3-drop 2/2, and on the front facing of it, it looks like it's in mono white. But cEDH Weatherlight Captain gets +1/+1 for each color among other legendary permanents you control. Then you can pay Wooburg, search your library for a legendary permanent card with CMC less than cEDH's power, put that card onto the battlefield, then shuffle your library. Right, I kind of feel like even though like obviously the numbers don't lie, like the deck is still performing really, really well. If it's going to be our 4th place spot, like that's still solid. It's in 5 colors, like it's impressive. I still feel like the deck struggles to find its place at times, because you can play the Tutor Chains, which is the version of it that I like playing, except people are continuing to be on like the Iorith, Marvin, Asika type lines, and that's fine. I never found myself in a position where I was using it, and then if I started going to it, I was just like, fuck, I'm adding a bunch of steps. Like that's just too much compared to where cEDH once was. There's the Birthing Pod cEDH. You have that build of it that actually takes more advantage, and you could do this in Tutor Chain as well, but it takes more advantage of like the Kiki Jiki lines and doing either Felidar Guardian or Village Bellringer. I think a lot of people have started kind of gravitating towards that for cEDH. If they're not on some of the other stuff, that might be even something that I test out, because like even if you don't have Kiki Jiki, Felidar Guardian in the 99 and Saheeli is still infinite cats and you just swing. So like there's a lot of like there's the main core structure of what the deck is, but I feel like there are a lot of times like you don't, how do I put this? It's kind of like what I said for Magda. Like you see cEDH and you are expecting all 5 colors, but you're not really sure what build of it. I think I want to say the tutor chain is like the most common, and then you have the pod lines following that, and then we have your fucking corn soup build, the clam chowder version of it that you've talked about wanting to play, where you're just doing 5-color good stuff. And like, I know you compare it to an Esper shell. I still think it's mostly a Bant shell with the splash of the red and black, but to each their own.
I think I figured out what your issue is with cEDH. Are you running Thrasios in the 99?
No.
Oh fuck, dude, that's the problem.
I did run Thrasios.
If you had Thrasios, he's the best commander. Remember?
I mean, I could run. You could, like, if you do a 5-color good stuff build, you could do Thrasios in.
You could do Thrasios Kennen.
Yeah,
just go find Basalt.
You just still do Derevia Meal and Gaia's Cradle, and then you dump it into Thrasios, and you just draw your whole deck out and win.
That's pretty good.
Like, that's literally all you have to do for that one.
I like that. No, I think that I genuinely do think that cEDH is like still a solid deck. Personally, like I think that I don't know, man. When you can just go get whatever you want, it's kind of hard to like the deck
justify not playing it. Yeah.
Yes, man. I think that the problem with the deck is it really is like a boogeyman deck that feels justified to like eat some interaction, if that makes sense. Like if somebody drops a Timna, it kind of feels stupid to just like swords the Timna. Or if somebody drops a Kennen, it kind of feels a little dumb to be like, I'm gonna swords the Kennen, or I'm gonna force the Kennen, or I'm gonna whatever. Some people will do it, but like some people, you know. But then it's like same thing with like if Thrasios comes down, like do I really want to fucking do that? But if cEDH comes down, it's like we got to get this chick off the table right now, or we fucking lose when they untap. And it's so easy to make the decision of like, yeah, this is worth a Force of Will, or this is worth a Swords to Plowshare, Path to Exile.
Fucking maybe spoilers if you're new to the channel and you just recently found us and started watching our gameplay. The first 2 gameplays where I'm playing cEDH, first cast in the first one, Force of Will, right off the bat.
Yep.
We talked about this shit earlier.
Yeah.
I'm still pissed about it at times. But the second cEDH gameplay that I played on, fucking Force and Denial, right, right away, and I'm like, fuck me, and I blame you for it because between you and fucking Leo.
You're welcome. This is why I win, because you are a problem. I'm trying to get you to play cEDH because I need to get some wins on my belt.
Oh my god.
I need someone else that's a boogeyman.
And you've gotten 2 wins whenever I've played cEDH for that reason.
You damn right I did. You damn right I did.
Son of a bitch.
I do think cEDH's sick. I really want to. I need to throw a list together. I just don't know. I don't feel like. I don't know. It's weird, man. There's so many damn lists that I want to play.
Fair enough.
This fucking went way off the rails. I'm sorry.
It did. Let's get back on the rails. So we are at 3rd place now. And our 3rd place, I don't think there's a surprise here. I don't even think it's in a different spot compared to what it was last time. We have Kennen Bonder Prodigy with a conversion rate of 16.7 and 69 top cuts.
But what does Kennen do, Chase?
Well, let me pull Kennen up and I will tell you what Kennen does. God.
That was not sarcastic. I was actually asking.
So for 2 mana, a green and a blue, we have a 2/2 human druid. Whenever you tap a non-land permanent for mana, add 1 mana of any type that permanent produces, and then you pay 7 into it. Look at the top 5 cards of your library. You may put a non-human creature card from among them onto the battlefield. Put the rest on the bottom of your library in a random order. So, let me just start by saying this. I really like this deck. I haven't played it in a minute, but I really like this deck. I'm putting it together again for this month because I really want to take it to through the decades. I think that this is what I'm gonna try to finalize for that event, and I'm gonna play like a really weird version of it. So I might talk about that later on a different day. But historically with Kennen, we're playing like a bunch of ramp stuff. You know, we are playing a lot of dorks, a lot of artifacts, a lot of things you want to tap down for to produce mana, putting a lot of activations on it. This goes infinite with Basalt Monolith. Some lists are running like the Devoted Druid, Machine God's Effigy type stuff to make Infinite Green and Blue. You can also run the Mirage Mirror and make it a copy of Basalt and a land that can produce both, like a Tropical Island, and make your infinite mana that way. Like, this deck just keeps going and going and going and going. But the issue that it's had in the past is that it has primarily focused on the creature base and like some of the higher end creatures like the Void Winners and even the Wandering Archaics and Nezahal, Consecrated Sphinx, things like that. And I feel like here recently we've seen a pretty drastic shift in this deck in the way that it's constructed, and I think that that's a good thing. um, so I'll kind of touch on that for just a second. Like, the deck is still playing, the high end cards. Oh, and I forgot even Hullbreaker Horror loops and like Tide Spout. It's still playing those cards. Some lists that we've even seen recently, and we talked about this when we covered the Land Go event, they're not even playing like Wandering Archaic. They're not playing the Void Winnower, things like that. But it looks like most lists are trying to switch over to this Simic good stuff, where we are trying to almost playing like the two Ristix build of Zur, and we are just jamming value engines because that's what we're trying to use to outpace everyone else in the format. If we can get these value engines down, and then after that, almost focus on the Kennen plan, it's shit. What else is going to stop you at that point?
Dude, I when I talked to Fizzle, he went over this, but like even he said like the answer to cEDH at this point is just draw more cards. And like I just think that that's where people are at right now. Just good card piles that give you access to really good like advantage engines and things like that. And this is one of those decks that like you really get to take advantage of the fact that like you can make a lot of mana, and Kennen takes really really good advantage of that. I honestly think that if Kennen just had any additional color, I don't even think it would matter. If Kennen had a additional color added on to him, this would be the best deck.
You think so?
Absolutely. I don't think it would matter if he was Teamer. I think he'd be insane.
Yeah.
Imagine like a Ragavan early and then a Kennen comes down. Like, that's insane. Like, plus you got like breach stuff that you can. I think that's cracked. You add black to it and he becomes Sultai.
I think if this is a Sultai deck, it's the best deck of the format. Period.
I think either one. I think anything.
Add the black tutors.
I think
Vamp Tutor, Demonic Tutor, Beseech.
But like, I mean, the same thing. Bant. I mean, if you throw in like some of the white stuff in there, I think that it's just a better Yoshi Thras.
Yeah, but would you really pick white over black to add if you had to do it?
I didn't say that one's better than the other. I said that no matter what color you added, it would be the best.
Well, this is a different.
Would I choose white over black? Yes.
Because you want to hide behind the silence.
Yes.
You can't even flip into it with Kennen.
Are you fucking kidding? You can cast your own. Fuck, I went really hard right there and I forgot the damn card name.
Yeah, you fucked up, did you?
Yeah. Smothering Tide. Yeah, that's right. I got there.
God.
Fucking Kennen with a Smothering Tide would be cracked, dude. I think it ridiculous. Dude, I think Kennen's
just so good.
He's so good. It's the fact that he's just limited on colors.
And kind of going back to what you were talking about with Fizzle, and I'll make this point too. In his list, he's running Kennen. Like, he's running Kennen and Atraxa, which is something that most Atraxa pilots, at least whenever I was playing Atraxa and for the history of the deck, you didn't run Kennen in the 99, which sounds kind of odd. But he made that point of like most pilots are for that deck are just trying to go into the Atraxa plan, whereas he's playing like the Sans Red good stuff, and you throw Kennen in there. Well, guess what? If you have Kennen in there, it just makes it easier to get your Atraxa out when you fucking need it. But going back to Kennen, we talked about it a little bit at the beginning of the year. Ian has talked about it. I feel like Lamora has. All these other content creators have talked about it. Kennen has struggled for a while because you would see big numbers at events, but not a lot of conversion. And I think that now that this version of the deck, where it is focusing on making multiple copies of like Rhystic Study or the value engines through like copy enchantment or mirror maid or things like that, and trying to really focus on getting those pieces down, rather than only running like fish and Rhystic and then everything else is just the creature value stuff. I think that's made it to where we are definitely seeing a lot more of these decks place in these top cuts or the higher conversion rates or whatever it might be compared to what it once was.
I 100% agree with you.
You have anything else on Kennen?
Mm-mm.
Okay, cool. Let's move on because these last two, it's pretty much the same, right?
Yeah.
It's we know them. I love them. You hate one of them. But in second place, we have Thrasios and Timna the Weaver with a 16.66 conversion rate and 69 top cuts. So we've already been over Thrasios quite a bit. If you aren't familiar with what Timna does, if you're in our format, you know what Timna does. But this is an Orzhov partner. For 3, it's a 2/2 human cleric with lifelink. At the beginning of your post-combat main phase, you may pay X life, where X is the number of opponents that were dealt combat damage this turn. If you do, draw X cards. I mean, this is a deck I've been on for a while now. I still really like this deck. It suits my play style a little bit more, I feel like, at times than what our first place one has to offer. But, for the most part, you're kind of doing the same things that most of these Dimir shells that we've already talked about is trying to do, where you're just trying to resolve Athos's Oracle, and that's really it. That's the main thing for this deck. Now, yeah, you can play enough creatures in it compared to our number 1 that you can, finish the game with a finale if you needed to. There's a few different ways of playing this deck. I've played it in the past where I actually include the Derevia mill lines. I really enjoyed those. You can do birthing pod stuff in it. Survival of the fittest is a key component of this deck to hit the other main combo, which is like the Hazel's Devoted Druid stuff. There's packages in order to be able to get that. Outside of that, with like Gifts Ungiven in the 99, like this is a very versatile and resilient deck, but it's only got like the real one true definitive way of winning the game, and that's just Thassa's.
I hate this deck.
I know you do.
I just personally, like, it just feels like it. I'm not going to say that the deck's bad, because I can't say it's bad. It's literally second place. So I can't say it's bad. But again, I just don't like the deck. I think that anytime that I've played the deck or that I've tried to pilot the deck, I feel like I just dirtle a fuck ton until eventually like the opportunity presents itself to like actually go for a win. But it just feels so. It feels like the pivot potential on it is just fucking hard, man. Like you're stuck there with all this mana and like you're netting advantage off of Thrasios, but it just takes for you have to get the right card to finally be able to be like, okay, now I'm going towards a win. And I feel like some of these other decks, you're just kind of looking for like you have the opportunity to win. You're just looking for the right window. Mm-hmm. This is one of those decks where it's like the window may be there, but you don't have the win. You're just sitting there being like, oh, I need more cards, or I need to go see some more stuff. And I think that I don't know. Like I was actually, because I was curious, but like Kennen versus TNT, there's only one additional entry for TNT between the two of them, and their conversion rates are the exact same.
Yeah,
which is really, really cool. And you kind of look at the number 1. I'm not gonna spoil anything. I don't think people have figured it out yet, but I don't know.
That's if people made it this far in the video.
Sure, they haven't. But if you look at the sheer difference in cuts, like top cuts,
mm-hmm.
I was curious to see if like there was going to be a lot more entries for this one, but in reality, like there was more entries, but it wasn't like a huge, like it wasn't like twice as many. It was like 60 or something more entries for the other deck. I just think that that's the problem to me with this deck, is it just has a hard time finally pivoting to the win. Like, you get those games where you're very fortunate to where like you kind of have the win and you're just kind of looking for your window. But there are a lot of games I feel like where you're just setting. I mean, even you have had that problem where like I've played with you against you when you're on this deck and you're just sitting there and you're like, fuck, I can just keep Seedborn musing to more Thrasios triggers, and you're just like, fuck, like you just can't find them. Finally you get to the win, and then you're like, okay, cool, now I'm good. But it's like, if you were on something else, you may have been able to jam it 2, 3, 4 turns ago.
Maybe. I think with this deck though, it's kind of like what you mentioned with Tivit earlier.
Mm-hmm.
That with Tivit, you kind of have to sit back, you play control, like you are trying to kind of control the pace of the game to some extent. That's how I play this deck. And I think that, like, yes, here recently I've been trying to do like a couple of different, like a variation of the deck that utilizes like gifts ungiven, and like trying to do like, when that card got unbanned and we talked about like the Snapcaster line, and then trying to do the devoted druid type stuff and things like that. Like I'm trying those out, but I'm trying to do it in a way where I'm actually just like jamming it and seeing what happens. And I haven't had as much success with that. But again, I think that kind of goes back to my point there. I think with TNT, this is a deck that I have found that if you can continue to push the game and control the pace of it, you have a higher chance of success in that match. That is my experience on this deck, and the way I've played it, and the 3-4 different builds of it that I've tried and tested. And that's the conclusion I've always come up with every single time, is that I am playing basically an Esper Shell / green, where it's mostly control, and then I am politicking my ass off and trying to push it as late as I can until kind of everyone else doesn't have anything, because like you made the point there, like this deck can continue to accrue and accrue and accrue value. And even if it doesn't feel like it's getting anywhere within the few turns that it gets all that value, it's going to happen at some point. It's just inevitable. So I just think that we're right now where it can be fast. It just hasn't sped up compared to some of the other decks that we've talked about today. And I think that that's where it kind of is going to fall off. Where if everyone else is trying to figure out a way to speed up, but this deck just can't, then it will probably drop down to like a 6th place. But I don't think it's ever going to be out of the top 10.
Out of the top 10. I don't think so either, because Tim is in the command zone.
I thought you were saying because Thrasios is in the command zone.
Nah, that's what actually holds it back, is that there's a 2-mana commander in the command zone.
Oh my god.
That's what it is. That's what it is.
Well,
if you just drop the 2-mana commander for a 5-drop, you'd fucking...
No, so is that our segue into this? So, all right. Well, you dropped the spoilers already, I guess, on this. So let's talk about our number 1. So at number 1, we're in Sands Green with Crom Ludwig's Opus and Timna the Weaver with a fucking conversion rate of 26.66 and then 128 top cuts. That's just stupid. That is, I mean, that's just so dumb. But it is what it is, I guess.
It's a good fucking deck. I'm not saying that I like the deck. I have a hard time playing the deck, if you want me to be honest with you. Something about that 4th color just fucks me up. I'm being serious, man. I think that my problem, and again, like I feel like I learned a lot talking to Fizzle and like asking him questions, because he played the deck too. Timna Crom is one of those decks that literally, like, it feels like you literally always have the win. Like when I talked to Ian and I did like some coaching with him, he was like, Timna Crom always has the win. You just have to assume it. Like they always have the win. And even Fizzle was like, post turn 3, you can literally win whenever you want. Like if you can figure out your lines, you can win whenever you want. The problem with the deck is like picking the window, because you have to be very good at picking the window, because you can all of your your win con is literally like non-creature stuff, like the breach lines and all this stuff.
Yeah.
It's like all non-creature stuff. So it's all the stuff that can get countered very easily. So you have to be very, very selective for when you're going to go for your win. But this does one of the nice things that like this helps you so much with like what some other decks will struggle with like your Adnaz and Necropotence and type of lines, like the things that really, really, really tax your life total. You want to be able to convert with something like that right then, or else you're just kind of screwed. And Underworld Breach fixes that problem for you by just giving you access to so much mana with it, LED, and everything else. Like, I just think that the color, like, I know people are like, oh, red sucks. Like, there are way more good green cards than there are good red cards, but the good red cards are just so fucking good.
Well, I guess I'm just trying to think for a moment because even I'm looking at a list right now, and even I'm still in the mindset of like I still like green more so than red, just where we're at in the format, and but looking at it, I mean, if if Underworld Breach wasn't a thing, this deck would not be a thing whatsoever.
No.
Right? Like, so going ahead and get that out of the way. Like, but it's strong. It's proven to be very consistent. If you're not even if you're trying to resolve your own Thassa's, like if you mill yourself out, Thassa's gets, let's say, mind break trapped, and you're not able to do anything. You just fucking continue the loop. I don't know why they would. I don't know why at that point you would use a mind break trap on the Thassa's.
Yeah.
The game should already be over at that point. But let's just say it, someone draws into it and they sneak that, and they're like, "Oh, fucking," or a stifle.
Yeah, but you just mind break trap the brain freeze, and then all copies get exiled.
Well, yeah, no, no,
But
I'm aware of that. But like, well, I guess what I'm trying to say is like, that's the back. It's a backup win line. You just brain freeze the entire table and then pass the turn, and then if someone can't draw because they have an empty library, guess what? You're going to win that game.
Yeah.
Unless you have someone that plays Esper and they just Angel's Grace during their upkeep, they don't lose, and then you go, fuck, I'm not running Angel's Grace, so what am I going to do? And I can't force them to draw a card here. So, it is really strong that having access to the Underworld Breach, extra turn spells, wills, like it's, if lists now are still running both Windfall and Will, having access to both, so that way you can, if you pop off pretty early and then you could will, fucking use Will as another win con with Orcish Bowmaster and Underworld Breach, like, it does provide a lot of, it's almost like where green provides you this value that you can accrue over time, and it can help you really get out of the gate. Red is just like an explosion.
Yes.
Like that's all that it is. Yeah. But if it fizzles, you're just kind of fucked. That's the thing. But the deck, it has the numbers. Numbers don't lie. It's continuing to do well. I think that even some of the events this past weekend, it did really, really well at. So
I was going to try and make the argument that the reason Tim Necrom was doing so well is because it had like way more entries, but it hasn't. Like it has more entries, but it doesn't have enough more entries to justify like double the top cuts. You know what I mean? And like you just can't argue. I mean, it's the best deck. Not saying that it's the most fun deck or the most original deck or the most whatever. Mm-hmm. It's not. You're not going to win any points for creativity, but it's damn good.
Yeah, it's because of Chrome,
the fourth best commander.
Yeah,
right.
Oh man, but yeah.
I just think that, I don't know. Like I said, I think that this it just kind of, I do find it kind of fascinating. Like me and you have talked about this before, and this is the thing that I do find probably the most fascinating about this deck is that you would think that having part of your win condition in the zone would make winning easier with something like TNT, because Thrasios himself is kind of a win condition. Mm-hmm. But that then forces you to make questionable card choices to play around the Thrasios plan. So, because I would say, like, on their own, like, things like Hazel is just kind of like, eh. But then you pair it with something like Devoted Druid, and it's like, oh man, like that goes really, really well. And then you pair this up, and then you pair the fact that it's like you're gonna throw in Kennen and Basalt, and you're gonna throw in all these like partial win conditions for the deck. So, versus like with Timna Crom, every damn card you see that you draw is what you want to really be seeing. Like it's such a good card, and it like there's really only like 2 to 2.5. We were talking about that, like win cons in the deck. So like you are getting to see all these amazing cards throughout the whole game, and then finally, whenever you're actually seeing the cards that are going to win you the game, you have seen so many other good cards that it just feels silly to not be able to win. Yeah. If that makes sense. So I just don't know. I just don't. I genuinely don't know how this isn't the best, which it is the best. But I'm not saying that I'm not over here being like, oh, it's amazing. Like I don't care. I mean, I'm not gonna play it, but at the end of the day, it's the best, and it's the best for a reason, and it's significantly better than like everything else, which is also just baffling. It's crazy.
Well, but I think that goes to the point you just made there. It is there are only 2 decks that we just listed in the top 10 here that are not commander focused, and that is Blue Farm with Timnacrom and Rogsai. Because even with Rog Thras, that deck is still very dependent on both its commanders, whether that is getting early advantage engines down, utilizing Thrasios as the advantage piece. If people are doing like the Cloudstone loops with like Cloud of Fairies and Rograk, that makes it even more heavy into Rograk. You're not really doing that in Rogsai. So kind of you have these 2 Grixis, mostly Grixis shells, where Blue Farm has the splash of white, but is mostly Grixis, and then Rogsai that are still within the top, one being in first, the other one being sixth, but they are not focused on casting your commander and trying to win that way. All of these other decks are, you know, regardless of what anyone else says. Like you just made the point there with the TNT build, like you're adding in all these pieces so you can go into the Thrasios plan, or if you're trying to go into the Tymna plan, you're including things like Delny in the 99 and things like that to make that more efficient. Kennen, like, yeah, even though the deck is more tailored towards the value engines, it's still playing those big ass creatures, and you're wanting to produce a bunch of mana.
Yeah,
you kind of have to go into the Kennen plan with it. Sisay, you have to go in the Kennen plan. I know, or not. Sisay, you have to go into the Kennen plan. Yes. Sisay, you have to go into the Sisay plan. Like, and that just shows the numbers. Like, you can do a 5-color good stuff build, but typically it doesn't do as well as the Tutor Chain or the Pod Sisay. So you have to lean heavier into Sisay. Magda plan, Tivit plan, even Malcolm Vile Smasher, you're still utilizing your commander as a very relevant piece to the deck, and you're building around it. Glarb, like Sultai on its own is not in the greatest position. The reason the deck is good is because of Glarb. So I think that just all kind of speaks volumes to the decks that are able to perform without having to utilize stuff from the command zone. And again, maybe this kind of brings up the point the video you just did with Fizzle. You know, like he's using Atraxa as another Adnos or a piece to fill his hand. It's not the main plan. And whenever he's done that, he's had a higher success rate. So I think that is something to kind of keep looking at and evaluating as the year goes on. Like, what are the decks that are not really trying to, or maybe more so getting away from things in the command zone and just focusing on the 99, because now we still have 2 decks that are at the top that are proven that if you do that, your chances of winning are pretty good.
Mm-hmm. No, I agree.
So
I agree.
Yep. But other than that, that was our top 10 at our 6-month mark. And I don't know, I feel pretty good about where it's at. Are there any that you think are going to move off?
Move off of the top 10?
Yeah, by the time we do this again at the end of the year.
I think Glarb probably falls. Nothing against him. I think he's good, but I think Glarb falls off. Tivit probably. And I'm not hating on Tivit. I just think that Gold Sabretooth and some of these other people have really been pushing Marnius really hard.
Mm-hmm.
And so people are going the Marnius plan.
I kind of feel, I think there's going to be a lot of shifting.
I do. Oh, sorry. Hang on. I totally skipped that. Malcolm Vile. I think that comes out.
I don't know. Every time it's popped up on the channel, it's just like, fuck, this is doing well. It's continuing to climb. It has a really high conversion rate, so maybe we actually see it move up a spot or so. Then we'd have 3 Grixis decks in the top 10. But we already have that now. I definitely agree with you. Like, I don't want to say that. Me personally, I don't want to say Tivit goes because of my prediction that I made, but I think Tivit's probably going to go. I think you're right on Marnius. I think Glarb might see its way out, but I think a good contender for that spot is probably Chunky. Chunky's been putting up numbers.
Just Gruul 5 color.
Yeah, I mean, that's what you do. That's what you do.
So, fair enough.
We covered our top 10. Do you have anything else? Not our top 10. This is the actual top 10.
Yeah. Fuck Yuriko.
Fuck Yuriko. It's off the top 10. That's a good feeling. Okay. And Najila got kicked way down, I think.
Okay. Yeah. I'm good with it. As long as Yuriko ain't up there.
Huh?
As long as Yuriko ain't up there.
Yeah.
I don't give a fuck. I just need a play that says fuck Yuriko and they'll be happy. Gold Sabretooth. Just fucking give me that mat, please.
Help this man get that mat. And the way you can do that is by liking and subscribing to our channel, and drop some comments down there if we eventually do Patreon and things like that. Maybe donate and we can get some of these mats to say fuck Yuriko. So you'll see it on the channel. But as always, if you like what we're doing, I just said it, like, comment, subscribe, and
go play some cEDH.
Sleepy boy.
That's how it goes, man.